I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about these riots that have broken out, the crazy sort of rhetoric from the Democrats. It's basically along the lines of, how dare you try to enforce the law? And when you enforce the law, you're provoking people to break more laws. Therefore, everything is Trump's fault. It's very interesting, very insane. Also, I want to talk about the beef between Simone Biles and Riley Gaines. I think most sane people are obviously on the side of Riley Gaines. Some people think that she took it a bit too far, and we'll talk about that. But she called her out for her advocacy for women and said that she was bullying trans people. And then she decided to attack her and say something that people would deem as kind of transphobic. So people have been talking about that all weekend. I've already, put out different videos and TikToks and posted it online at different places. So I'm sure you guys know my thoughts about it, but it's very sad that an Olympian who made her career off of her, profession being safe from this sort of madness is pulling up the ladder from other girls who would like to stand on the podium one day is very, very sick. And we'll touch on some other things as well. But before we jump into everything, I'm going to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content of the website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation to the website because it does cost a stream, run my website, all that good stuff. You guys can support. I very much do appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can also do super chats. You guys can also, if you're watching back later, do thank you. The stickers. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. You guys can also go to the website and check out different merch, like different t-shirt, like the goat hoodie, goat t-shirts, and other things, other merch. You guys can also check out some of my books that I've written. There's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube that'll take you to an Amazon page that has my books and stuff listed where you guys can see some of that stuff. I have mostly fiction books. I have some nonfiction books, but they're mostly fiction. So I encourage you guys to get one of those today. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Did you guys notice that I was on time today? I was on time today. So, oh gosh. So both of these stories are very interesting to me. And there's a lot of clips of the damage and fires and news anchors being on TV saying it's peaceful, and then there's like a car exploding behind them. It's very reminiscent of 2020. It's very reminiscent of 2020. So riots broke out in California because people were upset because ICE was doing some raids and the local law enforcement not doing enough. Trump decided to send a National Guard, and now people are flipping out more. And now they're saying that Trump doing that is a provocation, and basically it's his fault. And if you don't believe me, if that's the narrative, I think this snippet here from the LA mayor sums it up. So let me just go ahead and start off with that. But these people are nuts, guys.
I know how busy you are preparing for the hours ahead. What are you expecting on that front?
Well, I just have to say that if you dial back time and go to Friday, If immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night. I will tell you that it is peaceful now, but we do not know where and when the next raids will be. That is the concern, because people in the city have a rapid response network. If they see ICE, they go out and they protest. And so it's just a recipe for pandemonium that is completely unnecessary. Nothing was happening here. Los Angeles was peaceful before Friday. When we find out when and where the other raids are going to happen, that will determine how the police respond.
First, I know.
So it was peaceful until ICE decided to do their job. Like, what the heck is that? What the heck is that? Not even the narrative of, well, Trump sent the National Guard in and he just escalated things from jump. Well, ICE came in and that's why the people rioted. I hate when there's like no accountability. You know, there's a comment here about waving the flags and stuff of Mexico. There's a really it is a great image, by the way, like the photography. Let me see if I marked that. There's a lot of things that I marked. I don't know if I have that specific photo. I know I posted it on Facebook. Oh, here it is. Plenty of other people posted it. So let me shrink myself down. Of these guys, people just waving like the Mexican flag, and there's people with Palestinian flags and kifas and all kind of stuff. So all these groups kind of merge. For some people are just saying it's civil disobedience. I would say it's further than that. What really bothers me, so many things bother me, but people lighting stuff on fire, for example, and people pretending that it's just peaceful protest. It's not a big deal. Cars exploding behind you. I saw a video of some people pouring like gasoline and other stuff on the cars, and then they lit on fire and there was an explosion, and the morons just kind of hit themselves. Like, you're setting a car on fire. You don't think it's going to explode? They just had crazy fires in California. And so many people lost homes and memories, and they had to fight that for days. Cost people so much money. I was mad when somebody stole my computer. I can't imagine like somebody's burning my whole house down or that happening. I would have zero tolerance for any of these people doing any of that stuff. They're calling on the cars, the taxis that like are automated, and then they're just setting them on fire, setting police cars on fire, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I would not tolerate that after what had just happened in California. Now, I'm not saying it like it's the time for the winds to be all crazy to make the rapid fires like spread like that, but I just would not chance anything like that. I wouldn't. It's crazy. What's even more insane, this is one of the craziest videos too. From a local like ABC reporter. If you haven't heard this, I was watching Ben's show and he pointed this out. I'm like, I got to talk about this one.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
So they're just having, it's not a big deal. People are just having fun. They're just having fun watching cars burn. They're just having fun destroying property that doesn't belong to them. If we send in more people to stop this, it's just going to make things worse. Just let them set the things on fire. They're having fun. It's okay. Do you know what I find fun? Mario Kart. Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers. I like to go swimming, you know. So I like to just write. Obviously like to write my books and stuff, just chill on my laptop. I like a good anime, you know. I finished Solo Leveling a couple weeks ago, loved it. Oh my gosh, really good. I don't go, hey, let me go set a car on fire. You can just do a normal bonfire. I don't get all racial, but I know white people love they bonfires. I went to a urban I did go to urban school, but a rural school. I know they like they bonfires. People like they bonfires. So I know some people just like to watch the flames. And so my family works in like selling custom like fire pit, not custom, they do custom stuff, but like fire pits and all kinds of stuff. I know people like watching fires. That's some people. You know, I don't love it myself. But like it's okay. But I got a young sister. She likes fire a little too much, but she wouldn't like cars on fire. She wouldn't. Someone said it's true. What the? They said it's true with the with the bonfires. I know. You can't see. I'm getting more confirmation about these bonfires. I know it. Why remove the agency from people doing harm? Why? You can take it up in the courts if you feel that Trump is wrongly deporting people. Some of these people have had like deportation orders and stuff, and they've had due process. I heard a good point. Like some of these people don't want due process. Some of them have had due process, but if they get due process, they're gonna get sent back. You know, so it's really more than that. But if the law is enforced, they're mad. And if people come and do acts of violence and law enforcement doesn't do anything, that first of all, they'd be mad if law enforcement was doing anything anyway, I think. But Trump going that extra mile, they're mad about that. And they're saying, oh, he's provoking stuff. Oh my gosh, he's provoking stuff. Oh, now things are worse. This is just what he wants. And I heard a good point that was like, because Gavin Newsom and other Democrats are saying things like that, like, oh, don't give them what they want. It's more than optics. It's not just the issue of your side doing bad or looking bad. It's the fact that your side is doing bad. Like, be concerned about that. Not just how it might look for you in the midterms or the next election. Be concerned about the actual lawlessness and who could be hurt. And not just people, but why suffer through all that property damage? People pay enough in taxes. People spend money on their personal property. They don't want it destroyed. I saw a video of people just throwing rocks over on the overpass down at cop cars. Let me see if I have that video. I'm disgusted with things like that. I had a friend I used to work with at the Michigan Republican Party. Someone just dropped a rock like over an overpass while he was driving and just like smashed up his car. That was really dangerous. You could kill someone. These people need to be arrested and charged accordingly.
Oh, who's that?
Like,
Good.
I don't know exactly what you can land on reasonably, but it sort of looks like attempted murder. Like maybe that's not all the way their intent, so maybe you can't get them directly on like, I don't know, first degree or something, but you could kill someone. You could kill someone. And here's a clip of Brian Stelter talking about this nonsense. It's
On one level, protests are always about images, about spectacle. You might even say it's about theater. And we are seeing that play out in LA. And I think it's valuable to have that perspective as we see some of these pictures, especially as we zoom out and we recognize that the unrest is isolated, is not overtaking the entire city of LA. LA is home to millions of people, most of whom are having a normal day here on Sunday.
yeah. Oh, most people are just having a normal day. Okay. Someone said, hey guys, instead of taking the 20% side of the 80-20 issues, let's take the 5% of a 95 to 5 of the issues. It's just, it reminds me like of there was another sort of riot or crime issue, and there was a reporter who was just like writing about something else, refusing to cover those things, and just got like mocked in the media. Like, this stuff is still going on. It's still impacting a lot of people. It does look really bad for your city. It's not nothing. There are a lot of people who are just having a normal sort of day. But this is disturbing for people watching it outside of California, for people in California. I saw people online like, oh my gosh, where are they at? They're on this street. Oh my gosh, I don't want them to get too close to me. People panicking, which is a feeling that I can empathize with, because I had feelings like that during 2020. Because there were some, now in Michigan, we never let it get crazy. The cops like would not, like Chief Craig and them, they shut that crap down. But there were like people protesting in certain places. I'm like, oh my gosh, like where are they at? I'm like, oh, ooh, I hope they don't get any closer. I hope they don't get any closer. And Gavin Newsom was upset, and he posted this, that every single Democrat governor agrees that Donald Trump's attempt to militarize California are alarming and an abuse of power. So him sending in the National Guard, they're saying is abuse of power. And every governor agrees, who's a Democrat, not every governor, but every Democrat governor. So let me just verify that my governor is there, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And I just want to say that Governor Gretchen Whitmer didn't even want people to drive between their own homes during COVID. Like there's people who have homes like down in the southern well in the mid part or maybe like down that way. And you might have a house like in upper Michigan or in the UP or something like that you might go, go to a lake house or something in the summer or travel a bit. You couldn't do that with the executive orders. And you could only have a certain amount of people in your house. All kinds of crazy stuff in Gretchen Whitmer's Michigan. I don't want to hear her say anything about abuse of power. I don't want to hear a peep out of her. Not a single peep. I'm still mad at Trump for saying, oh, she's doing a great job. I'm like, why are you saying that? Why are you trying to be, I understand trying to be peaceful a bit, but like, why are you complimenting her? Why? These people are not on her side. They will never be on her side. They will stab you in the back as soon as they can, at every opportunity. I don't care that every single Democratic governor got together to back Gavin Newsom. Please. 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 Here's a tweet from Adam Schiff I mentioned. Los Angeles, violence is never the answer. Assaulting law enforcement is never okay. Indeed, doing so plays directly into the hands of those who seek to antagonize and weaponize the situation for their own gain. Don't let them succeed. Like, it's all a big plot from Trump so he could invoke martial law. But you guys don't seem to be saying, hey, this is evil. Don't do it. You guys who are doing the violence, you are wrong. You need to go to jail. We need to let ICE do their job. People broke the law. Just be freaking for real there, guys. Here's another one of those videos where the car is on fire as they're talking about things are peaceful.
We agree that if you're being violent, you should be arrested. You should be prosecuted. There is no disagreement on that. I think that's an effort that we can all say. But this is not what's happening. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting. And we know that California law enforcement, local law enforcement, they're there to protect the public. They're there to protect and have public safety. And that's what they're there to do. Now, when people turn on law enforcement is when you get that response. We agree that.
Do you know how stupid this argument is? Like, Trump's just doing all this because he doesn't like peaceful protests. My sister used to work at the RNC back when Trump was president the first time around. And I came to visit her one time. And I was like, there's a protest going on at the White House or near the White House. And she's like, that happens literally every day. There are protests against that man literally every day. Every day. Every day. Don't you think that it's people not protesting peacefully? That is the issue. The having fun watching cars on fire. That's the issue. That's the issue. People protest against this man all the time. And you know what? What's the craziest thing about this is it's just like a repeat of like 2020. Okay? Let's go back in time. 2020. That was such an annoying time. I was always on the right side of history, man. But it was so annoying. I hated the riot stuff. It was insane to watch. I always hated BLM. If I saw that in somebody's hashtag, I'd be like, do you know what this group supports? They want to support everybody but a black father being in the home and take care of the kids. A lot of the money they're going to LGBT stuff, not even to police brutality and all kind of. I was always on it. And I'm like, people are burning down stuff. And like, well, that's just how it has to be. Why do you care about things instead of Black lives? I heard so many insane things. But when there were the violent protests in different places, Senator Tom Cotton was like, "Hey, Trump, you should do the Insurrection Act. Send in the National Guard, calm this crap down." And Trump didn't want to do that. He wanted to do that. He would send some federal agents to protect federal property, and they'd snatch up people on federal property doing crimes or whatever. And then do you guys remember they're saying, oh my gosh, the Trump administration is kidnapping people. They're kidnapping people. Were they kidnapping people or were they arresting people doing property damage on federal property? But Trump, he didn't want to send in the National Guard or anybody, but it seemed very much like the Democrats were willing to let their cities burn for narrative, to keep instilling a sense of chaos in the world, because at the end of the day, if people feel like the country's on the wrong track, they usually will point the finger at the person in charge, and he happened to be the president at the time. Okay, so you had different cities and blue cities, blue governors who didn't want to have the help of the Trump administration, National Guard, or whatever. As a matter of fact, I think it was the first debate with Biden, and Trump was like, "We could, we could send in the National Guard, but you have to ask. You have to ask. We can help. You guys need help, but you got to ask." Because he wasn't going to. He didn't want the bad press. He didn't want the bad press. But at least that's what it seemed like to me. That he wasn't willing to go that far. He's not invoking the Insurrection Act right now. He's using like something else, but he could have, and I guess he could now, but he didn't want to do it then. He just wanted them to ask. Maybe he politically thought people would be like, "Oh, the Democrats aren't allowing him to help, therefore we're gonna support him and get rid of them." I mean, we know the results of everything that happened in 2020, but at the election night. But he didn't want to go that far. Okay? So there was billions of like property damage. People were murdered. All kinds of nonsense went on. That was a terrible time. Terrible time, super annoying time. And people thought that they were, I don't know. They remember the stupid black squares in people's profiles as if it was lamb's blood on a door. It was so annoying. So now it's take two with Donald Trump. He's literally trying to enforce the immigration laws, and people are reacting to that. And so he's seeing the lawlessness and people's reaction, and law enforcement, I don't know if it's just telling them not to react enough or not enough of them being able to do their job. So send in the National Guard to help them keep the peace, not to necessarily go and be the peacekeepers, like, exactly, but they're just there to help keep the peace. And they're flipping out. And it's not, he hasn't gone full Insurrection Act. They think Trump wants to do martial law and all kind of nonsense. And instead of putting the agency on the people who would act crazier or are acting crazy now, it's Trump's fault. See, the issue is this was always the inevitable path for the Democrats, and it would have been also in 2020, right? If Trump had gone that extra mile to squash the burnings and the looting and the rioting and all that other stuff, if he had gone that extra mile. But you know what? Trump is at a different mindset than he was back then. First of all, he's a lame duck. He ain't got no other term. He might be concerned about the midterms a bit, and I don't even know how concerned he is about it, frankly. I don't know how concerned he is about everybody else getting elected, but he ended up back in that White House, and that's what matters to him, okay? So he doesn't have to fake the funk for what the media might think. I think he made a lot of the wrong moves in 2020 regarding those riots, the summer of love, and also the pandemic stuff. I do. And the shutdown. And I voiced those concerns. I don't have to jump into them today. But he was thinking a lot about how the media would hit him for that stuff and the political blowback that he would face. He doesn't have to necessarily think about those things now. He doesn't. Because he's ended up back in that chair, and he's not going to be there again. They're not going to change the Constitution just so he can do a third term while he's the oldest and dustiest man to ever be in the office. It's not going to happen. Okay? His term's over. He also knows that this is a repeated playbook. And really, no matter what he does, they come at him so hard. They'll fabricate things to come at him hard. So he might as well do what he thinks here is the right thing, which started with him enforcing the law. You heard the LA mayor. She's like, well, they shouldn't have raided them in the first place. That's why there wasn't peace. And RC made a good point. Plus, the public support the deportations. Plus, the public supports the deportations right now. That's another thing too. I think, and the Democrats are at a bad place. They're at an insane place. And oh my gosh, it's just getting worse. I had posted this tweet on Facebook the other day, but someone pointed out Trump and Elon Musk got into this huge fight last week. Huge fight. Scott Jennings was on CNN and they asked him how he felt about it. And he's like, this is what Republicans are doing right now. And he put his head in a trash can. He's like, this is Republicans right now. Head in a trash can. And Democrats were like, nope, that's our L. We got to take that back. We got to take this attention back. We got to put that back on ourselves. So now it looks like Trump and Elon are trying to make up, that he'll keep building his rockets and he'll keep getting those contracts. He deleted, the stuff about Epstein and other things, which, Trump might be looking at him sideways or whatever, but they're both powerful men who pop off at the mouth and unfortunately like to use social media as their form of expression. So it is what it is, but that could have been something that the Democrats tried to keep blowing up for a while, and now we're here talking about this. And also the Riley Gaines, Simone Biles thing, but we'll get to that. They can't let go of the transition. They can't let go of this, and they're both issues that are killing them. They're killing the Democrats. And when Democrats say, they make the claim that, oh, well, if we could go back in time, when I think about it in hindsight, yeah, we weren't tough enough with immigration. Think back to 2020, the crazy stuff that people said on the campaign trail, particularly Kamala Harris. She didn't want to fund ICE. While in the Senate, she compared them to the KKK, by the way. And she didn't want to fund them. She didn't want to fund a wall. She didn't want to fund detention centers. All the Democrats wanted to fund, their health care and all kinds of different stuff. They were pretty radical and pretty much open borders, the pathway to citizenship for everybody, pretty much open borders. And they pretty much kept that same energy throughout Biden's presidency. And then when it became a really, really, really big issue, they tried to pass a bill. And when they couldn't get that bill passed, and they tried to be like, oh, well, it's Trump's fault this bill didn't get passed. And it's like, okay, what about the first 3 years of your presidency? Don't you bear some responsibility for the people who came in on your watch? People literally would cross the border and be like, I'm here because of Biden. And then there'd literally be people who cross the border and be like, y'all need to do better security. I'm scared about all these people I'm crossing the border with. There's some people here who don't look safe. Literally, I don't have the video queued up, but I've showed that video to you guys of illegal aliens crossing the border illegally, concerned about who they were crossing the border illegally with. You can't make that stuff up. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. So that's where they were. They were doing really bad on that topic. Kamala Harris started running ads for her campaign with images of Trump's border wall in it, the border wall that she said she didn't want to fund. And it was I can't remember the exact phrasing. it was like a medieval vanity project. Is that it was something along the lines of that. I don't know. I don't know if it was medieval, but it was like it was a vanity project that she called it. And then they started using it in the ads, and she was pretending like she was going to be a border hawk or what, just things that weren't true. So now, after the election, they're like, "Oh, we should have took the border more seriously, and listen to people's concerns because they know it's an issue that they're getting killed on, right?" And now we're here. We are now at the point of the story of, well, there are riots, but it's your fault for wanting to enforce the law. That's where we are. That's where we are. So don't believe them when they are in retrospect saying, "Oh, I guess we should have talked about the border." Don't pay attention to any of it. They haven't learned their lessons. They haven't learned their lessons. But I mean, let me make that bigger in case you guys couldn't see it. Just madness. Cam, by the way, this account that I just showed who had tweeted that, Cam Higby. Let's see if we can go back to that. He's a big TikToker. TikTok kept like banning his accounts, but he's on the ground right now there. So he would just do response stuff, debunking different people, but he went and covered on the ground some of the college campus protests and riots and things like that. And so God bless him for putting himself out there. But anyway, you guys can follow Cam. Let me just show him a little bit more so you guys can know who that is. I mean, there are some things that people are tweeting out that are sharing that's not accurate. There was one video from 2020 going around, and Gavin Newsom was like, "This is not from the right year," and people are like, "Oh, thank you for pointing out that this was just another time that you failed California." There was a video of people like raiding a 7-Eleven that wasn't a real video. I mean, it was a real video, but it was from a different time. And still like awful. California with these stupid flash mobs and all these different places allowing this kind of madness to happen. It just grates my nerves. It just grates my nerves. But there's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of stuff, man. Anyway, let's move on. Before I get to the Simone Biles, I want to talk. Let me show you this quick video of Tom Felton. He was asked a question on the red carpet about J.K. Rowling, who's the author of Harry Potter, and she's been very vocal in support of women and women's spaces and women just being able to be known as women and identified as women without it including men who believe that they're women. So for that, she has been labeled an evil transphobe. And like, she's so awful. People have thrown out their Harry Potter books, burned their Harry Potter books. Her attitude is like, well, you already bought my book, already got the money for the sale. She has so much money from Harry Potter. She's one of the most famous and successful authors of all time. But of course, there was the Harry Potter movies, and Tom Felton played Draco Malfoy in the film. He was also, in the films, he's also reprising his role on theater for the Cursed Child stage play. He was also on The Flash for a season. That was season, I want to say 3 with Savitar. I want to say that was 3. I think that was not 4, but I think it was 3. So he was asked about J.K. Rowling and how her comments affect him.
How does the sort of Twitterverse controversy around J.K. Rowling's views impact you at all, or impact your work in the world at all?
No, I can't say it does. I'm not really that attuned to it. The only thing I always remind myself is that I've been lucky enough to travel the world. Here I am in New York, and I have not seen anything bring the world together more than Potter. And she's responsible for that, so I'm incredibly grateful.
That was a bomb.com answer. That was a great answer. I did see some people on TikTok like, I'm so disappointed with Tom Felton. Silence is compliance. Blah, 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 blah. He doesn't get to throw her under the bus. He doesn't weigh in on the issue one way or another. When he's just at the red carpet, there, I don't know if he's promoting something, but he's just, again, got casted for the stage play and so on. That answer was perfect. Like, oh, no, not really. But I'm very grateful. He decided not to bite the hand that fed him. There's nothing wrong with that answer. Unless you freaking hate J.K. Rowling's guts for telling the truth. Go look. I mean, she'll respond to her trolls. And she's nice enough many times to blot out people's names. But please show me something that she said that is just so hateful. I'm not saying it's not out there, but on this topic, a lot of people are just angry because J.K. Rowling says that men are not women. Men cannot become women because they believe that they're women, because they think about what they believe women are and they start to act that out. So it's all based on their perception. How do you know what it's like to be a woman? You can't possibly know that. It's your imagination on the subject. You don't know. Okay? Is it so awful that she's like, I think that women should have their own private spaces. I think it's unfair if biological men compete against women. My friend, I have a friend, this is Savvy. She has 1 million plus followers on TikTok. She's if you don't follow her on Twitter, or X rather, she's very spicy on X. She's very spicy on X and says things boldly. I'm sure that if she said them maybe in similar ways on TikTok, she might not have that account anymore. So if you don't follow her on X, you might want to go ahead and do that. But she did put out a video on TikTok this weekend in regard to the Simone Biles controversy with Riley Gaines. And she's just like, you don't play sports with your identity. You play sports with your body. So it doesn't matter how you feel, what you think that you are. We separate the categories of sports based on sex. And if you want to talk about inclusion, and her issue with Simone, and we'll get to the Simone thing, is that she called out Riley Gaines saying, oh, well, why don't you, instead of you saying all this stuff and picking on the trans people, why don't you use your platform to make space and be inclusive and make different categories for trans people? That's not Riley's job to do that. But the women's category is inclusive because women needed opportunity, because if everyone played together, the men would just win. They just would. They just would. Maybe there's like, I don't know, something, a more obscure sport or something that, or maybe not a sport, but just some kind of other competition that women would be able to rise to the top at. But if we're talking about sports, dudes are going to take the lead. So they created the separate categories of women's sports so women can have something. Why does the WNBA exist? Nobody's played in the NBA. No women have ever been on a starting roster. It's not because it's not allowed. It's because they would never qualify. Same with the NFL. They would never qualify. People could do it to be woke, but they're not doing it because they wouldn't get on that team because they're the best of the best of the best. So separating it by sex is inclusive. So anyway, J.K. Rowling acknowledging those truths make her an enemy to a lot of people. And she's decided that's okay. She's going to be the one who sticks up for women. And I appreciate that. I appreciate her voice on the matter. And, you know, the leads of Harry Potter, you know, Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry, Emma Watson, who played Hermione. I don't know about the Ron guy. Rupert Giles, or maybe I'm. Hold on. Let me look it up. Played Ron Weasley. Oh, Rupert Grint. I think I'm thinking of I when I said Giles, I'm like, that's Buffy. That's from Buffy. I'm like, I don't think he has the same name. I'm like, I wouldn't have guessed Grint in my whole life. Gun to my head. But I knew it was Rupert. I'm not sure if he said anything, but I know those other actors have been outspoken as well. And they did decide to bite the hand that has fed, and it's really unfortunate for Emma, but she's a wokey lefty, so I'm not surprised. But you are a woman, are you not? You are a woman. So I appreciate Tom Felton here, and he really loves, you know, the Harry Potter universe, is appreciative for where he came from, you know, and well, he seems like a neat dude. I don't follow him too closely, but it was a great answer. It was a great answer. Anyway, before I get to the Simone thing, I didn't read Kamala Harris's statement. Before I read that, I do want to say thank you to Kit Kat. Because I did see her tweet earlier about my birthday. My birthday's tomorrow, but I appreciate the early birthday. I do again plan to be live. I plan to do things tomorrow, obviously for my birthday, but I plan to structure them around hopefully the time that I would go live. So I do still plan, to be live tomorrow. So hopefully the news is extra juicy tomorrow. We shall see. But thank you. Los Angeles is my home. And like so many Americans, I am appalled at what we are witnessing on the streets of our city. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos. In addition to recent ICE raids in Southern California and across our nation, it is part of the Trump administration's cruel, calculated agenda to spread panic and division. The administration's actions are not about public safety. They're about stoking fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. Protest is a powerful tool, essential in the fight for justice. And the LAPD mayor and governor have noted demonstrations in defense of our immigrant neighbors have been overwhelmingly peaceful. I continue to support the millions of Americans who are standing up to protect our most fundamental rights and freedoms. So I see her talking about provoking chaos, and she's appalled at what's in the streets, but It only seems to be directed at Trump and not the people setting cars on fire and throwing rocks at police officers and waving Mexican flags and all that stuff. It doesn't. I don't see. I don't see. I don't see anything about that. So I'm once again very happy she didn't win the presidency. Congrats, Kamala. You could never make me like you. Never. Oh my gosh. You just keep proving how terrible you are, how radical you are. But I'm not surprised. And if you were paying attention, let's go back in the time machine to 2020. She and Joe Biden were just sort of putting out rhetoric that was supportive of the craziness going on and not really condemning it. I mean, she was the one who told that was it Jacob Black that she was proud of him. And that was that guy who was the police shot, but he had a knife and he was reaching for a knife and they were like, he didn't have a knife. And he totally had a knife. By he didn't have a knife, that was sort of the rhetoric that was going on, but even he admitted that he had a knife. And he had allegedly, from what we knew, had like digitally essayed a girl. And there was the police, they were screaming about kids in the car or something. So anyway, he ended up shot. He survived, but they always seem to want to side against law and order. And it's always these people don't have agency in the situation. It's always the authority figure that is bad. Unless they are the authority and then they can, try to make sure the former sitting president goes to jail for the rest of his life. And someone said, except in a January when it's in an insurrection. I saw a good skit today where someone was just like Republican on one side, Democrat on one side, and the Republican kept listing different examples of riots and things, and the Democrat just saying, well, what about January 6th? What? And they're just like, do you have some kind of other argument? And then they're just like, well, you're a racist. And that's how it ended. January 6th, I mean, that was a riot, guys. I know people like to show the picture of the old lady with the flag and act like there wasn't other violent, crazy stuff happening. There was other violent, crazy stuff happening, okay? That was bad, but it was also like a fluke. It was watching it was so like, what world am I in? But when are we gonna stop this craziness, guys? Like, when is this enough? When is this enough? Anyway, let's talk about the drama with Simone Biles, Olympic champion, one of the most decorated Olympians ever, the best in her sport. So how did all the drama start? So last week we covered a story in Minnesota. Now there's the state champions. It's Chaplin Park. They won the state championship in 2025. Now, this particular school has not been to the state championship before. We covered the story when they had just shut out the people who won last time, the defending champions. It was like 1-0, I think, ended up being the score, but they have a male pitcher on their team. So they're just killing it. They're just crushing it. And they won. And a lot of people have some thoughts about this because this has become a, international story. I don't know about international, but it's become a national story, I guess, rather. So Riley Gaines tweeted, comments off, LOL, to be expected when your star player is a boy. Because obviously the comments are off because they wanted to share it, but they didn't want a bunch of negative comments. You can still quote tweet it. So that's obviously what Riley did. So Simone Biles said, "You are truly sick. All of this complaining because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports, but instead you bully them. One thing for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around." Now, Riley did do different videos in response to this. I'm not gonna play any of hers. There, some of them are kind of long, but I mean, you can imagine what they kind of say. But to say that she's sick, first, she's pointing out something that is immoral. Like I talked about this story in Minnesota last week. When I first heard about it, I was livid. I think I saw it like the night before I talked to you guys, so I was much calmer when I was delivering the story. But it made me so angry to think about the reigning champions didn't even get a chance to really win, didn't get a fair shot because of this boy on this team. It's so unfair. And everyone knows it's unfair. Gavin Newsom said it was unfair. People know it's unfair. They recognize it. They know it, including Simone Biles, but we'll get to that. So she said, comments off. Star player's a boy. I'm not surprised they didn't want the comment. So she retweeted her. She attacked her. It's not sick that Riley's standing up for women. So she said, all this because you lost a race. Now, Riley did say, I've lost a lot of races. That's what happens when you're an athlete. You lose to a lot of people. It just goes with the territory. And she didn't lose to William Leah Thomas. They tied. They tied. But just remember, he was like in the 500th kind of ranking. And then when he decided to transition, he's all of a sudden like number 5. Like, that's pretty insane. It's a big leap. I wonder what happened. What's the difference there? And people have started parroting this talking point of she's just a sore loser. All because she lost to a boy, all because she lost to a boy, and she's a mediocre athlete. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, she held a record for, I think, the 200 butterfly, and I think 12-time All-American. And she didn't qualify for the Olympic trials, but I think she got to the thing before that twice. So to even be considered kind of, I mean, I really like to swim. Unfortunately, maybe I'm better than average bear. I don't know. I'm not great at it. I feel like I'm, kind of slow. And I don't know. I think it's amazing what they can do, And Simone Biles, she's incredible at her sport. Of course, she's an Olympian. Okay? She's incredible. But to disrespect another athlete like this, to disrespect her like this, is so not necessary. And then to have the audacity, she's mad at her because she's standing up for women. And then she lectures her and says it's her job, what she should be doing instead of speaking up for women, is to make more space for men. Make life more comfortable for men. To stop what she's doing, focusing on helping women, and avert all of her attention to make it more inclusive for men. As I already mentioned, the women's category is meant to be inclusive for women, because if men compete with women, if they all compete together, men are just going to win. So the purpose of Title IX is to create more opportunities for women. The purpose of segregating the sports based on sex is to create more opportunities for women. And Simone Biles, who has the benefit of not ever having to compete against a male professionally, not only that, her brand of athletics, with her being a gymnast, They have specific things that men do, and they have specific things that women do. They're catered for like different things. So she super duper doesn't have to be in that position. And she got her golds already. She got her fame, her notoriety. But she is pulling up the ladder while she's already at the top of the podium. That is what's sick. That is what's sick. That is what's sick. And by the way, they don't want a different category for just the trans people. They don't. They want to compete on the women's teams because that gives them an advantage. And because it affirms who they are. Leah Thomas, who she tied with, said was asked a question because there are girls on the team who didn't like what was going on. And so they wrote a letter saying, hey, we support you and what you want to do as far as your womanhood journey, but we just don't think it's fair. And his response was, well, if you think I'm a woman and you say you support me being a woman, why wouldn't you want me on your team? And that is a valid question. I think he knows what he's doing, but it's a valid question. If he is a woman, why can't he be on their team? Why would there be this big gap? Why does he have this natural built-in advantage? Because he's not a woman. Because he's not a woman. Especially, I mean, he's not a woman, period, but he's especially not in any way that matters. Like lip gloss and long hair does not make a woman. It doesn't. So no, they don't want a separate category. So you don't even understand the issue. But it even got also the nobody safe around you comment is also crazy to me. Riley, this happened maybe about 2 years ago now, maybe, when she went to a campus to speak, and she was like locked in the bathroom because there were all these protesters, and she was, hit, assaulted, and they're like, well, maybe we'll let her go if she gives us some money. And it was just madness, the kind of stuff that she endured. I have met Riley Gaines, by the way. I have interviewed Riley Gaines. I have a video on YouTube with my interview with her, and this was like very early on in her activism when she had just like started traveling, and she was still kind of, it was like right after like college and mulling over like what she was going to do, because she was going to be a dentist. Like that was her plan. And when I mentioned that, some people are like, well, of course she changed her plans because now she's a grifter. Somebody had to do this. Somebody had to do this. This also bothers me. I made a video about this, but let me just go ahead and say this. People coming for Riley for standing up for women is so crazy to me. It makes me upset, because when I would watch this all unfold, including the William Thomas situation, from the outside looking in, I would be so annoyed. And I'm like, why aren't they fighting back? Why are they allowing this to happen? Why are the officials allowing it to happen? Why are the parents allowing it to happen? Why are the girls putting up with it? How come they can't all get together and ban against this person and say nobody's racing today unless he leaves? No one's going in the locker room unless he leaves. Girl power, we're united in this. Why aren't there major protests? Like all the parents coming in being a distraction, like, I don't know, beating on like whip out little drums in your purse and signs, and like, why sit there and take it? It was driving me crazy. I'm like, if it was me, I couldn't deal with this. If it was my parents, we would not deal with that. And so Riley, I guess she went along with it for a little bit, but she did tie with him. And she also was flabbergasted when they're like, okay, well, we're going to give him the trophy. We don't have one for you. So we're going to mail it to you. She's like, why can't I have a trophy? And they're like, this is what has to happen. Like, Leah is getting it. Like, and she told me in the interview different stories about how the administration would just push upon them that this is what's going on and you got to deal with it. And she said that there were girls who were victims of sexual assault who did not want a man in the locker room, who felt very uncomfortable. They didn't care. They wanted them to go through like therapy to like get with the program, and like a counseling to get with the therapy with the program. But they're just like, Leah's going to do this and you shut up. It is what it is. And people were afraid to speak up. The girls were terrified, social scorn, professionally, whatever, but they were scared. They were scared. I mean, I understand. I still don't want to give a pass. Like, everybody should have still band together to stand up to the madness. In that sport and in every other sport, every other time this happens, women should be able to come together to stop it. Fathers watching their daughters go through this, they should come together to stop it. Mothers should stop it. There shouldn't be coaches who are putting up with this nonsense. Nobody should allow this to happen. So now finally someone is saying, I'm standing up for women. And she had other stories while she was, giving her talk. At that point in time, the girl who had got hit by the volleyball when she played against a male athlete, who and then she had like permanent issues, I think like brain damage, if I'm not mistaken, but she had like permanent issues from that had happened at that time. So there's a safety concern, there's a privacy concern, there's a fairness concern. So I'm like, finally somebody has stood up, because all Riley Gaines is doing is going around saying the emperor has no clothes. That's all. And everybody can see it and everybody knows it. But only one person, maybe not, maybe some people have deluded themselves and convinced themselves that someone is stark raving naked with their junk hanging out, that they actually have clothes. But most people know it's insane. And I'm so glad that people like Riley have said enough is enough. I'm so grateful that J.K. Rowling said enough is enough. I'm glad that Tom Felton, he didn't say, you know what, men should be. He didn't say anything about that issue. He just said, I'm grateful to her. Thank you for at least not throwing her under the bus. Thank you. I'm glad about Riley Gaines. I can't even say I'm disappointed, Simone. A lot of people are saying they're disappointed. I'm the, she just don't seem like that kind of chick. I'm gonna be honest. Okay. But here was another thing that she said. She said, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male, Riley Gaines. Now, when I saw this, I'm like, she ain't taller than me. I'm 5'8". So Riley confirmed that she was 5'5", which might be a giant to Simone, who's like 4'8" or whatever. But within her critique, she's admitting that to be taller is usually a male thing. So there are differences in the sex. Okay. There's that. But this is so messed up, her trying to compare Riley to a guy, which a lot of people will do who are the trans activists. They'll say, I've seen people say that to her face at the Turning Point events, say it online. People, I've seen people say that all kinds of things to women who speak out, like my friend Savvy, will say like, oh, well, you look like a man. Or you say something about Dylan Mulvaney, his stands will come out and say like, oh, well, he's prettier than you are. They say all kinds of stuff like that. They try to get you under your skin and all those kinds of ways. But what's crazy is that Simone Biles knows what it's like for people to come at you and to call you a boy or to compare you in those kinds of different ways and body shame you. So here she is body shaming Riley Gaines. And she was like supposed to be an ambassador for body positivity.
Question I wish people would stop asking me is, how tall are you? Are you gonna grow? I'm not going anywhere. I'm 4'8". I'm stuck. I'm Simone Biles and I love my body. Because it helps with gymnastics and it teaches younger girls to love their bodies as well. I think I've learned to love my muscles a lot more than when I was younger. I got made fun of for my arms a lot. Some people would say like mean things. They used to call me like a soldier. At the time, it didn't make me feel the best, so I wore sweaters or jackets all year long. Now I show off my arms all the time. To me, healthy body image is when you feel confident with yourself, in and out. To body shamers, let me say, I feel like if you love your body, then that's all you can do, so it doesn't matter what anybody else says. So I think they have to learn to fall in love with themselves, and I think it's out of jealousy sometimes. I was actually
Ooh, I had read this article. I just found this video right before I went live, so I haven't watched it. I just knew what it was, some of the stuff I was going to say. But it is so funny. It is so funny that she said, "Ooh," to the body shamers. I think it's out of jealousy. Is that why you attacked Riley Gaines? Because you were jealous? Certainly not of her like accomplishments, but her courage, her moral clarity that you seem to lack. Probably. Because there is a tweet from the past of Simone Biles back in 2017 where she said, good thing guys don't compete against girls or he'd take all the gold medals. Now, that video is probably there was the Olympics show like guys and girls doing like different things. I'm not positive where that linked to. I don't know why it's not up anymore. But good thing guys don't compete against girls or he'd take all the gold medals. That's the truth, man. So Riley said, "Oop, don't you hate it when your past self completely undermines your current nonsensical argument? How has 2025 Simone reconciled with the fact that 2017 Simone was a truly sick bully by her own standards?" Someone in the comments was like, "She's not talking about a trans person, you sore loser." Again, she didn't lose to William Thomas, but a man is a man is a man is a man is a man. A man is a man. Trans woman is a man. Everybody knows the truth, man. Speaking of J.K. Rowling, she said, she didn't add her, but I'm assuming high achieving women who pull up the ladder behind them are owed no fealty from other women. You can be a useful idiot for male cosplayers and cheats, or you can fight to ensure that girls who follow in your footsteps have a fair shot. You can't do both. Boom. J.K. Rowling, ladies and gentlemen. Now Riley did get some criticism for how she came at Simone because she did reference her sexual abuse from and the time that she had testified about it. So she said all the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusion dream came true? 0. So people are like, that was a low blow. You shouldn't have mentioned that. And someone in the comments had said something to her like, oh, what if Larry Nassar identified as a woman? Would he be able to go into women's prisons? And so she had said, oh, that's a good point. And people find this comparison or this example in poor taste. She said, and she had said later, to make my position on both topics very, very, very clear, I hope Larry Nassar spends the rest of his life rotting away and miserable in prison. But just on a side note, I hope it's a men's prison, because there are guys, sexual abusers, by the way, who will claim to be women and will transition and be moved to women's prisons. That shouldn't be allowed, but the left doesn't believe that. I wonder if Simone Biles believes it. Gymnasts were failed by a system that protected an abusive man at the expense of the girl's safety. Men don't belong in women's sports. Female athletes continue to be failed by a system that protects abusive men at the expense of the girl's safety. So, there are men out there who are predatory. Even with the William Thomas, Leah Thomas situation, he has autogynephilia. He has autogynephilia. Like, he gets off on dressing up like a woman, like having what he feels is like a female body and being in it. It's a turn on for him. Like, there's a sexual perversion to it, not just a disorder in the mind with the body, but there's a genuine degenerate perversion to it. And he's not the only guy. There was a story I covered a few times of I forget where it was though, but it was a YMCA. There was a minor who was in the bathroom, in the locker room, and then she was scared because she heard a guy, and so she spoke about it in like the city council meeting or whatever, and the media was just like, well, this person like she fully transitioned, so yeah, it's, and people were taking the guy's side. In a Redux magazine, they cover a lot of these trans stories. They went through his social media and he had some very perverted things on there, very perverted things. So I just I wouldn't want these people in my locker room. There was one person who on TikTok, I can't think of his name, but man, he looked goofy, but who was a trans woman, and he advocates that he should be able to like go in women's bathrooms and spaces and stuff. And he doesn't pass. You can tell he's trying though. But he does like OnlyFans and has like a cow fetish or something. Like I don't want, you guys want male porn stars in your bathroom? I don't. I don't. I certainly do not. Should Riley have mentioned Larry Nassar? I probably wouldn't have. I don't necessarily think it's I guess evil to mention it, but it is definitely a tough subject. And then of course people online take it and they run with it, and then they take the rhetoric into places maybe that, I mean, that she obviously can't control. She can only control what she says. But if you do go into this world where men can identify as women, and that we just have to take the side of the person who has the delusion or makes the claim and self IDs, that does put women in a vulnerable situation. Like, one of the reasons why JK Rowling is so outspoken is because there are spaces for women who have been abused that are being infiltrated by men, and they don't have safe spaces. So if you open this door, and it's very open. I think it used to be wider. It's a little more closed, but there's still People like Simone Biles holding it open. There is a reality in where he could identify as a woman and request to not be in that prison anymore and be transferred to a woman's prison. That happens in this world, and it shouldn't. And it shouldn't. So I do think that, I don't know, it's obviously a very tough subject to bring up in a conversation. But we do need to consider the real world consequences. It's really bigger than women's sports. Like, people ask, like, why do you keep talking about this issue? It's not because I want to talk about this issue. It's just that it is an issue. And I think it's bigger than, I mean, it's unfair to these women athletes. I mean, I played sports in high school or whatever a bit, but, you know, obviously didn't have professional dreams of it. Like, I played volleyball for a bit. They were begging me to do shot put. Oh my gosh. The coach would beg me all the time, like, you need to do the shot put, please do it. Like, beg me all the time to do it. But I just, there was a lot going on at the time. I just couldn't end up doing it. Those things are important in the privacy for the women, but it expands further. Women's spaces, like their shelters, their prisons, their spas, and their bathrooms, like those things are important. It's also important because it's a violation of truth. And I just think it leads to more moral decay and ideological subversion. And is really bad overall for the health of our country. For people to go around acting like something that is so obviously false is true. It's not good for us. It's not good for us. So I don't know, maybe it's fine that she broached the subject, but maybe it's fine. But I'm like trying to think through it. I don't know. Maybe I probably maybe would have worded some things differently, but I don't know. I think the points to kind of bring up the repercussions of her ideology are worth mentioning. I think they're worth mentioning. It's just tough when you're doing things online, especially with something it's a sensitive topic like this. But I guess she did come for her, but I just hope she considers it deeply or deeper. I think with that line of attack, she's probably not. But if you go back to the women who were victims of sexual assault, who didn't want William Thomas in the locker room, their feelings should have mattered. And they get lost in all this inclusion stuff. So Kit-Kat said, why do you keep talking about the issue when we keep forcing it on society? Yeah, that's another thing that's dishonest about the conversation too. That's another thing that's really dishonest about it. People didn't talk much about this back in 2012 and 2014. When was the I mean, well, Obama tried, really started to make it an issue too, because he was willing to withhold federal funds for if schools didn't let a boy go in a girl's locker room. And that particular school with the Obama, they were willing to give him a special space, but he didn't want a special space. He wanted to change in the girls' locker rooms. So they want you to comply. It's not even about making a space for them. They want you to be pieces of padded room to just make the whole world their crazy shelter, their crazy padded white room. Like, you have to be a part of it. You're not allowed to have the agency to say no. You're not allowed to say, I have to go with the truth. I can be compassionate to you, but I have to be reasonable to you, and I have to still respect you enough to be honest with you. They don't want that. And I'm not saying all people who struggle with gender dysphoria necessarily want that, because and there's people who struggle with gender dysphoria who don't want the spotlight like this. It's for, they're already uncomfortable enough. Like, why would they want to go balls out in a locker room? Like, why would they want to do that? Why would they want to go in to the bathroom and do this selfie with their leg hacked up on the sink? Why would they want to do that? So it's not everybody. And I know I'm ragging on it a lot. It's still, I still want people to live in the truth, not their truth. I still want that for everybody. But I do want to make the distinction that I do understand that there are people who are bullies in their victimhood. And then there are people who are struggling with their body and their mind, and they are just trying to live their life. I understand that distinction. And unfortunately, they get lost in this conversation too. Anyway, someone said it's amazing what happens when white suburban people get bored. Man, maybe they should just go build a bonfire in the backyard. Go light their Subaru on fire. Anyway, that's the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it just costs a stream, run the site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it, and appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch on the site, like different, I have my goat hoodie, different mugs and t-shirts. If you would like, I also have different books that are available on Amazon. Most of them are available on KDP. I'm not KDP, Kindle Unlimited. KDP is like my side of things. KDP is not yours, but Kindle Unlimited. So if you guys want to read that stuff, my fiction books you do actually have to purchase, but you guys can buy the ebook. You guys can buy the paperback. There's a link in the description that'll take you to where you guys can get that stuff. So thank you guys. Tomorrow I will be streaming. I plan to stream. If I change my mind, I will write a post or something, but I do plan to stream tomorrow on my birthday. So I will see you guys tomorrow. God bless.